Today I'm going to be fitting a new reversing camera and dash cam all in one unit. So we've decided that we would like to hardwire in a dash cam to the van. Also, I find that the reversing camera that comes on the van is actually quite hard to use. I'll try and show you. So this is where the driver's head sits. And you can see it's there, so it's there, it's usable, but I find myself leaning forward to try and see it, which is less than ideal, and in the end I don't use it because I'd rather just look in my mirrors. So we did something a little bit different with this one. I actually reached out to this company called Auto-vox because I'd seen their cameras used in other vehicles and I was really impressed, and they actually sent me the V5 camera and the hardwire power supply to install and show you guys. Inside the box we've got warranty card, manual, then you've got the main mirror unit. The reason that I was so keen to try this rather than some of the others is that this entire thing is the screen, whereas a lot of the others the screen is just this section here. Inside the box you also get, this is the long power cable and video feed cable that runs from the back of the van all the way to the front. In here is the rear camera. Okay, this is a fairly small unit and this is IP rated. It's got two different mounts. One for going behind a number plate, this one for fitting inside a windscreen, neither of which I'm going to use for that purpose, but I think this one's going to work for sticking it to the outside of the van. Then we have the power cable, so if you're not hardwiring this in, this goes into a cigarette socket. It is worth noting that this uses a USB-C power, whereas a lot of the others use mini. So the generic power adapter kits won't work. And then the last bit is a GPS receiver so that it can log your location along with and attach that to the video. We're going to have to find somewhere to put this that isn't right in the windscreen because the Ford Transit, like a lot of Fords, has the heated windscreen, so it won't get very good reception. But we'll find somewhere on the dash for that. You also get these rubber bands. So the main unit actually clips onto an existing rear view mirror on this one. Then in this box we've got the hardwire kit, and this comes with a blade fuse piggyback adapter. Now I'm going to get into this later because unfortunately this one won't fit in this particular van, but the rest of the kit works fine and it's an easy change. This is the ground wire, and then here you can see the USB-C connector. I'll go through all of this in detail and how it's installed in a bit. So here's a couple of other bits you need. You need a memory card. This particular dash cam takes up to 64 gigabytes, and it also needs a class 10 card, so I just got one of these off Amazon. They're not overly expensive, I think it was a tenner. This here is a different piggyback adapter, which was £2 off eBay. Let me show you the two next to each other. Can you see how the spacing's slightly different? I believe the Fords use Micro 2, and I'm not sure, I think this is just called Mini Fuse. Anyway, that one won't fit, but it's a simple job. It's a simple job just to snip this off here and either crimp, solder, chop lock, connect the two together. I'll be using crimps because I like them for auto use. So for this to work, we're going to install a rear view mirror. I've got this one second hand off eBay. It's off a Ford Transit Connect. The Ford Transit ones have the auto dipping, which we don't need, and it makes them much more expensive. So this was 25 quid instead of £190. So this cover, to get this off, you have to take a little plastic bit off here, and then with a little bit of force, you push the right hand side off first, and then the left hand side comes off. These here are the sensors for the auto lights and the auto windscreen wipers with this variant of the Transit. These are dead simple, like bayonet fitting, so you just put them on from above and slide down, and that's on. So we're going to just take the A-pillar cover off because we're going to be running the power wire and the GPS receiver down this one. To do that, we just pull it this direction. So this was quite tough to get out because this clip here retains, but firm tug got that out the way. Also, this just cup holder just pulls up, and that's going to give us access down here in through the back, and then I'll pop this panel off and we can get to the fuse box, which is just behind here. Now we've got this panel off underneath the steering wheel, we can see the fuse box. I think we're going to plug into this space here, but we'll get there in a minute. But there's plenty of space to route the power cable under there, up through here, into the A-pillar, and then tucked in behind the headliner across the top. So I'm going to start doing that now, and we'll film a bit as we go. So I have, for now, I'm just trying to get the cable in place. I need to make sure it's long enough. So I fed in the cables from down next to the fuse box. They've gone across underneath the steering rack. Then I've got my hand down here, pulled the wire up, then fed it through this gap here. And now I'm trying to route it up the existing wiring loom on the A-pillar, and then I'll run it across the top. Just need to be careful here because I've got the earth connection for the heated windscreen, so I'm going to just take that off so I don't accidentally break it. And that is an 8mm socket to do that. So to get these open, just fingers underneath. So I'm going to run the power up and the GPS cable down. Okay, with it roughly in place, I just need to double check to make sure we're going to have enough length to reach this mirror, but it looks like it's going to be fine. All of these clips will hold the cable in, but I can't put them back on until I've got the GPS cable, so I think I'm going to route that one now as well. So what I'm doing is just feeding the two cables and then pushing the clips down. Being careful, that's the power feed for the heated windscreen, so I need to make sure I don't pull on it. So now that we've got the wires routed in, the GPS wire doesn't seem to be quite as long, so I've had to leave that loose, and I'll tuck it inside the A-pillar when that goes back on. Need to put the earthing strap for the heated windscreen back on, otherwise that won't work. Oops. So then, before we put the A-pillar on, we just need to reconnect the tweeter, which is a socket. It just clips in. You should hear a snap. Then, being careful not to track the GPS wire, push the A-pillar back. Push it back down into position. And line up all the clips. Yeah, so just make sure the rubber seals out. just using a trim tool or my finger. With that out, we can reinstall the cup holder. Okay.
How are you doing down there?
Yeah, it's cosy. I'm just trying to find my fuse connection and my earth point.
Elegance.
I know, I'll try. So on the Ford Transit fuse box, this fuse here, this slot is unused and it supplies constant 12 volts, which is what the camera says it needs. So this piggyback fuse adapter is going to go in there, and then these two bolts next to the OBD2 port, they're connected to earth, which I checked with my voltmeter. So for now I'll just hook the negative terminal onto there. It's not going to be high current, so it should be fine. Okay, so with that connector hooked onto the bottom of here, I can tighten up the bolt again. Okay, so this is the original connector on the hardwire kit, and as we know, this is the wrong size fuse, so I'm going to cut that off, and then we strip the wire off. So I just use my crimper then to crimp that on, giving it a tug to make sure it's okay, and then when we're ready, I'll plug that into the fuse spot that I pointed to earlier. So the feed from the rear camera, I need to run that cable down as well, and there's a shelf headliner on our Transit, but there's enough space here that I'm going to just feed this down the outside with my arm and then pull it out at the top of the A-pillar. I should have done it before putting the A-pillar cover back on, but it should be fine getting that out. So now that I've fed the wire forwards from the back, I can grab that here, and then I'll pull through enough slack so I can put that up inside of this headlining and join up with the other two cables that we've got. So as you can see, I've hooked on the screen onto the mirror, and it uses these rubber straps, and that's nice and solid. This particular model has the camera is actually adjustable, and then I've run 3 cables. Now there's not a lot of spare cables, so I'm actually going to have to run this down the outside of the plastic housing, and then I'll probably just try and hold it together and tidy it up with some zip ties or something. So I'm going to put that together now. So hopefully you can see now we've got the mirror installed, and 3 cables go up and into the headlining. I kind of wish there was more slack available and I could have put the cables down behind and through that hole, but there's not enough spare cable to do that, so this will do, and if necessary I can cable tie them together and put some sticky clips on here. Now I need to go and get the wiring in for the camera at the back. Okay, so I took the cover off the cable, which to be honest has been broken anyway, so I'm going to leave that off and just tidy the attachment up in a different way, because all of this will end up inside of cupboards I think when we're done. Anyway, I've run the extra wire that goes to the camera all the way to the back. Looks tiny bit short because this is the extra long wheelbase, but thankfully the lead on the end of the camera should reach from the brake light, which is in there, along here, and reach the connector there, so we should be okay. The only wire that doesn't fit is the reverse light sensor. Basically you just need to connect into the reversing light with this cable, and then when you put it in reverse it changes the mode on the monitor. So to do that, I've got a bit of wire I had, and I've dropped it down this pillar here, which follows the path of the others, and it comes through there and out here, and then to this connector. This is the connector for the rear lights, and I've used my voltmeter just to check, and this brown and green wire is the reversing light. So now I'm going to cut this so that I can crimp in this wire here. So what I've done to break into this is to crimp this kind of female-male joining spade to this end of the wire, and then another female on this side. So that's the original reversing light wire that I make with that, and then I can get another male spade which will go on the end of this, which will go into that, and then I'll make sure I tape it all up nice and tight. So I've reconnected up the light connector. I rewrapped the loom in the loom tape so it's all nicely covered up. I've got a female bullet connector on there, a male bullet connector on the camera end. I'll connect them up, and then time to fit the camera. To take the rear light fitting out, you have to disconnect the wire from this point here, which you just press. There's a little tab, you can just see that at the top. You just press that in and then pull back on the cable, and then I just press down on one of these metal clips and the light unit popped out. So I've got the camera glued in place. Hopefully that'll hold. It's raining at the minute, I don't know whether that's going to hold. If not, I'll have to maybe screw it and use some sealant. The cable tucks up into the light and then sneaks behind the seat. Here is the rear view camera up and running. There was a slight issue to begin with where the camera was upside down, and as far as I can see in the settings there's no way of changing that, so I had to go and physically unscrew the camera and turn it around the other way, but that seems to have worked okay. This is actually really clear and bright, and you can drag it up, so when it's in rear view mode I think looking further back makes more sense. Then if I put it in reverse, it flicks down. Now this, I haven't got it set angled all the way down so I can see my bumper, and I think because I've got this one here which does that, it complements it nicely to have a slightly further back view, which works better as a rear view mirror. We'll see how we get on. If I wanted it to go lower, I'm going to have to change the bracket, but that's doable. There are a couple of different modes. So this gives you front camera and rear camera at the same time. Just the front camera, just the rear camera, and then there's also something called driving mode, which I don't have turned on at the minute, which blacks out the mirror and just puts the speed on using the GPS. Yes, all in all, I've been really happy with how this camera's gone, how the install's gone. I'm happy that the cable was long enough to reach. The only downside has been that the camera, there doesn't seem to be an option in the software to flip the camera the other way, so I had to physically go and screw it, and it doesn't give you the same range of motion when it's upside down, so I can't tip it all the way down without changing the bracket. Other than that, yeah, I'd actually say it's a pretty good camera. I need to use it now, see how we get on. So thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll have some more updates coming soon. The next job is to get the rear seats in.